And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer.
Where is that goofball guy on the tractor? He's supposed to have been here a month ago to cut my hay. And now look at it. Howdy folks, Darren back with you here at Cross Timbers Farm. Welcome to 8th Day Chronicles. Glad to have you with us today. We're out at the farm today. We have questions after questions after questions about small scale hay and equipment for a small family farm, small acreage, small paddocks. These acreage could be anywhere from 1 acre to 100. That's totally dependent upon you. What you can handle, what you have time to do. We're going to do a down and dirty video of small scale hay equipment. We have questions routinely asked of us about hay and equipment. Should I invest in small scale hay and equipment? What do I need to buy to get started in small scale hay and equipment? I own a small farm. I own a few horses. I own a few goats. I own a few sheep. I'd like to be able to cut my own hay. I have some hay fields that I can cut and feed my own animals and not have to rely on someone else to come cut my hay. I got a guy that's supposed to cut my hay, and when he does come and he cuts it, he takes half my hay for payment, or he never shows up. My hay ruined. The nutritional value of my hay gone by the time he showed up. All sorts of things. I get messages and emails, and I hear regularly. And I get questions regularly through messages, DMs, things like that, email. What should I do to start my own hay process? We're going to do a down and dirty video, quickly going through these steps. If we went through every step and the equipment you need to buy hay and equipment, we would have a marathon video going on here of all the equipment. We have a small scale hay equipment playlist that goes in depth with balers and some drum mower videos, tedders, buying some used equipment, buying new equipment. Go back. If you are serious about cutting your own hay, that's in your mind, you've been thinking for a year now, I want to start cutting my own hay, and the small scale equipment interests you, go back and start watching that playlist. Today, we're going to cover the basic steps in a crash course of cutting your own hay. The equipment you're going to need, and bear in mind, we're talking small scale. You're a homesteader, a small farm, you have animals that you want to feed yourself from your hay off your farm and not be buying hay. There's something to be said about being self-reliant. Someone's going to come cut your hay, they never show up, they show up late, they show up once your hay is way past prime and it's low quality by then. Lots of reasons for you to start cutting your own hay, but it does require an investment. A substantial investment for a small family farm. Small scale hay and equipment is in my opinion, a very fast growing niche in the hay market. Just by the volumes of emails and comments and views on the channel and things specifically about certain pieces of small scale hay and equipment tells me that it's a very fast growing market. A lot of people interested, but you have some people that have no idea where to start. We're going to crunch small scale hay and equipment and what you need to do to get started and what it's going to cost you to get started into a one action-packed small video. Let's get started. First thing, your hay equipment, your tractor. The tractor your tractor is a whole nother can of worms. That's a whole topic in and of itself. For the purposes of this video, we are not going to go into tractors. Brands of tractors, styles of tractors, two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, loaders. What's the lift capacity of your tractor? What will it lift at your three-point attachment? What kind of tires do you have? Do you have enough horsepower tractor to handle this haying equipment? Is your tractor a big enough wheelbase to safely handle this small scale haying equipment? As far as tractors goes, what is your terrain like? Is your terrain rolling hills? Is it steep? Is it flat, level land? Do you need a two-wheel drive or a four-wheel drive? Do you need the horsepower to be able to pull some hills with hay implements attached to your tractor? You just need to make sure that you have a sufficient tractor to handle this equipment. That is a whole nother video in and of itself. We're going to go into horsepower requirements and things of that nature, dependent upon the implement we're talking about. However, the tractor itself, we're not diving into that in this video, so feel free to watch some other videos that we have on our tractor, our Kubota L3200 compact tractor. Perfect marriage with this equipment. Your tractor may be very different. You need to decide if that tractor is sufficient for this kind of work that you're wanting to do with small scale hay equipment. You're interested in starting cutting your own hay. What do I need? The hay process consists of cutting your hay, tedding your hay, raking your hay, baling your hay. We're going to cover these steps. Step number 1, cutting your hay. What is a hay mower? Look, Darren, I own a rotary cutter. I'm just going to use that. You got to understand the difference, the types of hay mowers. A drum mower, disc mower, a sickle bar mower, a hay bind. There is a lot of different mowers out there. Hay mower, specific for hay cutting. That's what you need. That's going to be your first step. You got to be able to cut that hay. There's advantages and disadvantages to each of those. A lot of this is opinion. My opinion, drum mower. I feel you can't go wrong with a drum mower. Average drum mower. We're going to pick one drum mower and we're going to do an average on it. A FarmMax FDM 165. That drum mower cuts 5 foot 6 inches, and you can buy it in either a manual or a hydraulic lift. The hydraulic fold is about $1,000 higher than the manual, and it weighs about 100 pounds more. Consider that with your tractor. When you're buying these mowers, look at the weights and consider your tractor. The FDM 165, 5.5 foot cut manual lift. That mower weighs 882 pounds and requires 28 horsepower. That mower sells for, now, disclaimer. I should have said this at the very beginning. Disclaimer on these prices. I done internet searches for these prices from dealers that I know, dealers I don't know, but they have reputable reputations. So these prices, when I look these prices up, these prices are as of February 2024 on their websites. You can look yourself. As days and months go by, prices are subject to change, so take what I'm saying here with that in mind. A FarmMax FDM 165, $3,000. weighs 882 pounds, requires 28 horsepower. Talking to a fellow on the telephone, we were discussing mini round balers. He was considering buying one. He was new to haying. I asked him what he's going to be cutting his hay with, and he said, I'm going to cut my hay with my brush hog. No. A brush hog is a rotary cutter. It's similar to what you would maybe have on your lawnmowers as a mulching blades. That thing's just going to chop it up. That's what it's supposed to do. Such as this Woods rotary cutter right here. This thing will just chop your hay into oblivion. You want your hay cut at the bottom and laid over whole. You don't want it chopped up. Can you imagine your baler raking and your baler trying to pick up all that fine chopped up hay? That won't work. You need a dedicated hay mower. Here is our Farmax FDM 135. The FDM 135, the specs on it. It is a 4.5 foot cut. It weighs 530 to 600 pounds. Requires a minimum of 22 horsepower. This mower right here. $2,800, brand new. That's a heck of a deal when you can consider a disc mowers 8,000 and up, sickle bar mowers 4,500 and up. This drum mower will mow as good or better than anything I ever used. This thing mows like nobody's business. You just got to get it set right. Okay, first step, cutting your hay. The Ibex TX49. It cuts 4 foot 1 inch. Manual lift. Weighs 650 pounds, requires 20 horsepower, $4,200. The Samaz 5 foot 8 inch manual lift drum mower, weighs 880 pounds, retail $3,900. The drum mower will mow as good as anything you can mow your hayfield with, and it'll mow as fast as you can stay in the seat. Can't say that about any of the rest of them that I'm aware of. My opinion, one of the very best options for a hay mower. Easy to use, easy to set up, easy to maintain, ease of use, fastest mowing, and the cheapest. A drum mower. Drum mower, my opinion, the best choice you can make. Disc mowers 8,000 and up. Sickle bar mowers $4,500 and up. Hay binds way up there. And then bear in mind, we are talking small scale equipment here. Small paddocks, small farms, acreage is up to you. Small tractors, compact tractors, disc mowers 8,000 and up, sickle bar mowers $4,500 and up. Our FDM 135 drum mower $2,800. You can do the math. Really like our drum mower. If I had the cash, I'll put it this way. If I had the cash in my hand right now, and our farm budget said go buy whatever you want to buy for a new hay mower, I'd go buy another drum mower. I would spend some of that money on a drum mower without hesitation and have money left in my pocket to buy other things. Haymaking process, step 1, cut your hay. Step 2, tedding your hay. Let's talk quickly about tedders. I know folks that have cut hay their entire lives and have never owned a tedder. The first time you have hay down and you get rain on your hay, you're going to wish you had a tedder. If your goal is to make the highest quality hay that you can off your property, you need a tedder. We bought a tedder. That was the last piece of equipment we bought. It didn't take but one bad rain when we did not have a tedder to realize our very next purchase was going to be a tedder. Here's our hay tedder. It is a Rhino PT207 2-basket hay tedder. We bought this tedder on the used market. We searched and searched and searched till we found the right piece of equipment. It is a drawbar model, which is the style I wanted. This thing is fantastic. Searching the used market, we were able to buy this tedder for less than half what a new one costs. Less than half. This thing has proven to be fantastic. Super happy we bought it. Go back on our small equipment playlist and look at the video we did on this tedder and what pieces of hay equipment would we have no problem buying used, and what kind of hay equipment would we forego the used market and only look for new. The tedder is one of those things that I would not hesitate to buy used if you can find one in really good shape. We did. We got extremely lucky. The good Lord smiled on us. This tedder has worked fantastic for us. If you want to make high quality hay, buy a tedder if you want higher quality hay. Why do I say that? A hay tedder will improve your hay drying process, no doubt. It will make your hay more uniform in drying by spreading that hay out, kicking it around, helping it dry. It will cut possibly up to a day off your dry down time. Not only that, your hay will not lay around in clumps and piles. A tedder will keep that hay spread out to where it dries uniformly. You get a more consistent moisture level in all your hay than if you would if you just left it lying from the drum mower or if you raked it into windrows. I do know some people that rakes their hay into windrows for the drying process. I've never really understood that. All you're doing is clumping that hay up. Yes, it may be rolling it over to where some on the bottom gets more sunlight and air, but then you're pushing some that was on the top to the bottom. I would prefer to leave that hay spread out for high quality premium hay. Get a uniform dry down. A tedder will do that. Nobody wants 2% moisture in their hay. That's as just dry as the Sahara Desert. Your animals won't like it. I've seen hay like that and had some hay like that. Animals take a bite or two of it and walk away. They don't want nothing to do with it. It's dried down so dry that the moisture content is gone. The nutritional value of that hay has just leached out and gone. It's just bleached white, is almost white. Nobody wants that. On the flip side, you don't want too high moisture content. A high moisture content in your bale of hay is just going to lead to mold, mildew, and if you put it in your barn, it could cause a barn fire. That's dangerous as well. There is a fine line for moisture content in your hay. What your animals will really dig, they'll go after, and what they'll walk away from. Everything else being equal. Your hay being the same, one of it dries dust, the other one at a proper moisture content, and you'll see real quick, you've got animals that'll chow down on this and won't touch this. A tedder will help you achieve that. A Rhino 2-basket PT207, 10-foot working width, 2-basket, weighs 385 pounds, drawbar model, requires a minimum of 15 tractor horsepower. That's small. You can run a tedder on a small tractor. 15 horsepower minimum. 10-foot working width, $2,500, $2,500. A little research, a Fort Mora model MH2L, a 9-foot 1 working width, 2 basket, 15 horsepower minimum, 407 pounds, drawbar model, $2,000. All right, again, these models and brands that I've mentioned are for representative purposes of what's out there. The varying styles and prices. Do your own research. These prices that I'm quoting that I found today may not be applicable tomorrow. Do your own research. Man, now we've got to go rake hay. Now it's time to rake our hay into windrows. This hay's got to be pulled from being spread out all over your field into windrows so your baler can pick up that hay to bale it. Wow, when it comes to hay rakes, there's a lot of choices out there. Some very good choices. You can see we have a Grizzly inline 4-wheel hay rake, right-hand hay rake, 3-point attach, ground driven, no PTO required. Small hay balers have to have small windrows. I've baled with some windrows that was really high, but if you keep them too wide, your windrows get too big. The baler will eat out the middle of that windrow and leave hay on the side. You're leaving hay in the field. That's a problem with raking windrows for a mini round baler. This hay rake is an inline rake, meaning it's pulling the hay all in one line. There's no V to it. They do make 4-wheel V rakes. They make huge, big 12, 14-wheel V rakes. They make roller bar rakes. They make rotary rakes. With the mini round baler, one of the advantages of a inline rake, I can rake one row and then turn around if that row's not very big and come back and pull into the same windrow to make a bigger windrow. Or if my hay's really thick, I can only make one pass and keep going counterclockwise and make single windrows. A big advantage of an inline rake. Working width, 9 foot, weighs 385 pounds, ground driven. As long as your 3-point on your tractor will pick up 385 pounds and you have enough weight on your tractor, that machine weighs enough, and you have enough wheelbase width to balance this rake, no horsepower requirement. It's ground driven. Depending on sales and things of that nature, $750 to $800 for a brand new rake. Folks, that is a heck of a deal. Let's look at some rakes. And I'm open to another style of rake. When I get this rake on a hillside and it's off to my right over here, and I'm on a hillside anyway, the weight of that rake's pulling me further and further down the hill, making my tractor tippy. I would love to have a rake directly behind my tractor for these hilly conditions. Again, match your equipment to your terrain. A Mora rotary rake, drawbar model, 9 foot working width, and it is PTO driven. You have to hook a PTO shaft to it. $2,250. A Grizzly 4-wheel inline rake, $800. A New Holland 256 roller bar rake, which is a fantastic rake, and you can find those things pretty much almost everywhere used. The problem is finding one in good shape used. If you can find one used in your area, in my area, a decent used 256 roller bar is anywhere from $2,000 to $4,500. And those are 8 foot 6 inch rakes, ground driven. Grizzly rake, $800. Do your own research on prices. what will work for your terrain and your tractor. Now, you've cut your hay. You've tedded that hay a couple of times and got the moisture content to a premium level, a safe premium level. You have raked all that hay into nice tight windrows. You've got some beautiful hay laying in your field in nice windrows, ready to go into a handleable, is that a word? Handleable package in a bale of hay. Now comes the baling. And folks, I don't know why the baler gets all the glory in the haymaking process. I get 5 questions to every one. 5 questions about a baler to every one I get about all the other implements put together. A new square baler from a reputable dealer will cost you $20,000 and up for just the baler. Enter mini round balers. The perfect baler for a small farm, small hay operation, homesteaders, somebody with livestock, a couple of horses, a small goat herd, a small sheep herd that they need to feed hay to. A small 2x2 round baler, in my opinion, is the perfect baler for that situation. Coupling the price, I can buy every piece of hay equipment minus the tractor that I need to have my own hay operation going on my farm for less than I can buy a new square baler. This is a Farmax FMRB 330 made by Redlands Ashland Company out of India. Based on the amount of questions I get regularly through our channel about small 2x2 mini round balers, it's very obvious they're gaining in popularity faster than John Travolta in 1972. These things, just by the sheer number of questions I get, they are gaining popularity. And it's a crying shame that there is none of these balers made in the United States. They're all from overseas. They're either manufactured in Japan, India, China, somewhere like that, overseas. If a company, a U.S. company, would start building these things and price them reasonable, they would sell them. Folks, not only is the mini round baler gaining in popularity by haymakers, the mini round bale in and of itself is taking off by leaps and bounds by livestock owners. As you can see, this is a 2x2 round bale of hay. This is premium quality hay. This one weighs about 50 pounds. As you can see, I can readily handle it. My wife can readily handle it. Superior bale of hay for feeding, in my opinion. You can unroll this thing, pull little flakes off of it, put it in a hay feeder. There's hay feeders we have developed that the whole bale will go in with very minimal waste. These things are fantastic. People that has used a small square bale for years and years, when I introduce them to these mini round bales, these 2x2 round bales, and they use them for a little bit, they come back to me on a regular basis and say, Darren, I love those little round bales of hay. They're so easy to feed. The feeder you showed me how to use, I built myself one of those. I love it. They're easy to stack. They stack in my barn really easy. They go in my horse trailer really easy when I'm going on horseback rides on the weekends. My goats really like them. I like handling those bales. They stack good. It allows good air circulation the way you stack them. I don't think I'll ever buy another small square bale. I hear that pretty regularly. People in this area is just not used to seeing, or in the United States, is not real used to seeing these small 2x2 bales. Show them to them, explain it to them, and let them try a bale. They'll be back. Okay, baling your hay, step number 5. This is a FarmMax Redlands 330. It has category 1 3-point attachment hitches. You can design a drawbar for it. I built one myself. Ibex and some other companies actually make a drawbar kit. I would highly recommend that. 540 PTO. According to FarmMax website, you can do 60 to 100 bales per hour with this machine. In my opinion, that is very personal dependent on how you like to bale hay, how your land features are in your hay field, whether you're on rolling hills or flat land. That has many factors that will determine how many bales per hour that you can make with this baler. I don't get in a hurry when I'm baling hay. I'm not worried about that. However, the website does say 60 to 100 bales per hour. It has all self-contained hydraulics. You do not have to have a hydraulic remote on the back of your tractor. This baler weighs 1,025 pounds, a pickup width of 31 inches. The website FarmMax says this baler has to have a minimum of 20 horsepower. Well, actually, I think it says 18, which is right at 20. I would recommend not going to that very bottom number. I would say 20 horsepower and you're good. The thing about this baler is it's very heavy. Does your tractor have the wheelbase, the width, and the weight of your tractor, the whole machine with your loader and everything on it, to be able to, when you pick this baler up by your 3-point, if you're going to use it as a 3-point attached implement, does your tractor have the weight and stance to be able to safely lift this baler? It weighs 1,025 pounds. Will your 3-point pick it up? Sure it will. Okay, when you do pick it up, and if you're sitting a little bit on a little bit of a slope, once you pick that 1,025 pounds up, is your tractor, your machine, heavy enough and stable enough to keep from the weight of that throwing your tractor balance off? Make sure you have sufficient tractor to do this haying equipment. This baler right here, and I said earlier, prices are of this date. I looked on the websites today, February of 2024, $7,000 for this baler, brand new. Okay, Ibex, the Ibex TX31, 540 PTO, 60 to 100 bales per hour, same as this one. The Ibex says their baler weighs 915 pounds. It's a little lighter than this one. This one has a self-oiling system and more features than the Ibex, causing some extra weight. 915 pounds for the Ibex. Tractor Tools Direct says they're on their website, it requires 15 to 20 horsepower minimum. I would say 18 to 20 horsepower. Tar River makes a mini round baler. The SRB 870 has category 1 attachments, weighs 1,150 pounds, same bales per hour, same horsepower requirements right at 20. $8,700. I've heard good things about the Tar River baler. Most small balers work on the same principles. This FarmMax FMRB 330 probably works on the same principle and the same type system as the Tar River. Likewise as the Ibex. Some of them, like I said, is made in different parts of the world. If you have preferences when it comes to that, do your research. Do your research on pricing. This baler will need a few things, in my opinion, to make it viable. You need some kind of drawbar attachment system, and that's my opinion. And you need gathering wheels. Those are extra expenses that you're going to have to invest in on your baler. Some people don't use either of those. Personally, I would prefer that. Okay, start cutting your own hay. It's a 4-step process. Mowing your hay, tedding your hay, raking your hay, and finally baling your hay. Cutting hay is not for everyone. If you're uncomfortable with farm implements, farm equipment, and you are not somewhat mechanically inclined, maybe you should just forget about cutting your own hay. Let someone come cut your hay for you. To be a hay farmer, there's issues with this equipment, every single piece of it that pops up every now and then from time to time. If you use this hay equipment long enough, you're gonna eventually have an issue with something, with a baler or with your hay rake or your drum mower, your disc mower, whatever you have, something. You've got to be somewhat mechanically inclined to fix some of this stuff. A hay farmer is usually a jack of all trades. Problem solving. If your baler has an issue, you got to be able to stop, look, listen to it, figure out what it's doing, what's causing that issue, and how to fix it. A lot of this equipment, there's nowhere to run down to a dealership to fix it. This stuff's imported. A lot of it is. Having a good network of farm friends is very important for help. Adapt, overcome, stop and look at your issues and develop a plan to remedy the issues. It comes up all the time with hay equipment. You gotta be able to do some of that stuff. So Darren, I'm thinking about starting to cut my own hay. I'm tired of waiting on Farmer Brown down the road. He just keeps putting me off and keeps putting me off. I've got a few acres of grass fields that I could cut to feed my horses this winter. And I've got hay standing out there, and because Farmer Brown just keeps putting me off, I'm gonna have to go next week and buy 50 square bales of hay to feed when I've got hay standing out there. What am I gonna do? You know what? I think I'm gonna look into that small scale hay equipment, because I've got a Deere 3025E. I've got a Kubota L2501. I've got a Massey Ferguson 231S. What is it going to cost me to do that? Is it worth it? Those are questions you're going to have to answer. If you have never worked out in a hay field in the heat of the day of the summer putting up hay, when those bales are made and they're laying in the field and you go around with a trailer and a truck or whatever and picking those bales up, stacking bales in the barn, it's work. It's manual labor. And if you're like me and you enjoy the hay process, hey, what's the old saying? Do what you love and you'll never work a day. I love working in hay. It's enjoyable to me. It might not be to you. So, I'm thinking about buying this hay equipment. What am I looking at for my total investment? I'm starting from scratch. I do have a tractor. I have a Kubota 3901. Will that work? Yes, that'll work. Okay, what do I need to do? How much is this going to cost me? First thing you need to do is find a reputable dealer. Someone that will stand behind what they're selling you. You're looking at a mower, a tedder, a rake, and a baler. Okay, and some equipment to go along with those. I'm going to give you some prices right here that are the minimums that I found that would be good, reputable, reliable equipment. Okay, a hay mower, $2,800. A tedder, $2,000. A rake, $800. And finally, a baler, $7,000. For a grand total of $13,000. Well, you're looking at $12,600, but the time you pay taxes and all that other BS. Add a drawbar kit. Add some extra tines for the tedder, the baler, blades, some extra blades for your drum mower, the twine for your twine wrap for your baler, oil, grease, all that stuff. Plan on about $15,000 is what you're going to have invested in your hay equipment. And we're not talking about your hay, we're talking about just your equipment. $15,000. Now, if you get into your hay fields, preparing your hay fields, growing high quality hay, that's a whole nother can of worms. We're not even going there. We're talking about just the bare bones equipment, what you need to have every piece of equipment you need to successfully make a fantastic bale of hay. These are the minimums, and the price could only go up depending on your appetite for what you want to buy. Bear in mind, a brand new square baler, small square baler, will cost you $20,000 and up just for the baler. You can buy this small scale haying equipment, a mower, a tedder, a rake, and a baler. And all the, maybe not every single piece, but most of the equipment you're going to need to go with that. Everything from a drawbar to extra tines and blades and oils and grease, things like that, for around $15,000 as of this date. No more buying crappy hay. Darren, you ain't gonna believe how good this hay is, man. This is some of the best hay I ever baled. And 2 months later, I'm in the barn kicking that stuff out into the field because it's nothing but weeds and stems. I opened a bale of hay one time, no kidding. A gentleman told me that it was premium quality hay. I opened a bale of hay one time. Have you seen on the side of the highways where the utility companies come along and they run telephone lines or cable TV lines or whatever, and they're buried? And there's this little sign about 4 inches wide, hanging up and down, and it says "Caution, buried cable." I opened up a bale of hay one time and one of those fell out of it. And it was, like, of course, all mangled and bent. Fell out of it. I've opened up a bale of hay from the same barn, and a Schlitz malt liquor beer can fell out of it, full of leaves. You understand what I'm saying. To say I never went back and bought hay there again is an understatement. How many times have you sat and waited on someone to come cut your hay, and they call you and tell you, "I'll be there next week"? Yep. You call and say, "Hey, my hay's prime, it's ready. Man, it looks really good. You need to get over here and cut this for me." And you've agreed with them on a price, or going to give them a third or a half or whatever your agreement was. Week goes by, 2 weeks goes by, 3 weeks goes by. You call them up, say, "Hey, are you coming?" "Oh, I've got behind, man. I tell you, it's just, I had a breakdown here and a breakdown there, and now Uncle Joe wants me to come cut his, and I promised him I would. And I'm going to get to you. Just hang on. 2 months later, they finally show up and your hay's brown. It's way past prime. It's as dead. The growing season's over, and that hay's already dried up. You've probably been there. Cutting your own hay, you can take control of your own hay for your stock. Cutting your hay's viable. You just got to go about it the right way and buy what you need and only what you need, and keep your farm budget in mind. Buy used when you can. We bought our hay tedder used. After the very first season of cutting our own hay, I quickly realized that we needed a tedder. One reason we needed it is because it poured the rain on our hay for several days in a row, and we lost a lot of hay. We just had to rake it off into the woods. It was ruined because I had no way to spread that hay back out and try to get it dry, just to salvage some of it. It was beyond helping. And if your goal is premium quality hay, it needs to be tedded, in my opinion. It needs to even dry down for a consistent moisture content. What I'm getting at is we did buy a tedder used, and we took our time and searched and found the right piece of equipment. You can buy a drum mower, possibly. There's not near as many used drum mowers on the used market, at least in my area, as there are disc mowers, hay binds, and the other style sickle bars. Drum mowers are, I'm going to say they're a new thing, but they're newer. I'll just put it that way. Hay rakes, tedders, if you do your research and take your time and be very objective when you go look at a piece of equipment, you can buy some good equipment. Small mini round balers, 2x2 hay round balers, finding one of those used on the market, good luck. They are very new to the scene, the hay scene. There's not many of them out there used, if any, hardly. And people that do own one seem to really like them. I'm not saying there's not the exception of someone, but as a whole, people really like those little balers, and they tend to hang on to them. So there's not many of them ever come up for sale, at least not in my area. Is it going to be something viable for you? I don't know. That's something you're going to have to sit down and do some number crunching for your farm, for your animals, and see if this is something you want to go after. If you do, small scale haying equipment is a very, very, very good option. So thanks for being with us here today on the farm. As we done a down and dirty video for small scale hay equipment. By no means did we go in depth with any of this. If small scale hay equipment for a small family farm, small paddocks, small areas, I can maneuver this hay equipment around in places that someone with a 150 horsepower large agriculture tractor and a square baler or a big round baler somewhere, they can't even think about getting into those areas good. I can get in there and I can cut hay and I can bale hay and come out of there smelling like a rose. And it is viable to do larger acreage with. That just depends on your time frame and what you're looking to do. I've had people contact me and ask questions about a mini round baler and small scale haying equipment, and I asked them what kind of hay, how many acres are you looking at cutting? What kind of time frame are you looking to do that in? Are you looking to be able to bale, X amount of acres per day? what's your situation, and they answer me numbers larger than what I felt that small scale haying equipment was capable of. And I told them right off the bat, you're barking up the wrong tree. You don't need to be looking at small scale haying equipment. What you're explaining to me is a larger scale operation. This equipment's not for you. If the small scale haying equipment is up your alley and you think it's going to fit what you want to do perfectly, I'm very pleased with ours. Very pleased. Our small scale hay equipment here on our farm is paying for itself. We have a very loyal customer base for our hay, and everything's going great. Plus, I enjoy doing it. So, thanks for being with us here today on the farm video on this hay equipment to discuss mowers, tedders, rakes, and balers all in one video. But we do have playlists going into detail with each of these implements, reviews on them that goes a lot further in depth. Feel free to look at those. Feel free to watch the videos on our baling. We have plenty of videos on baling, raking, tedding, mowing, the whole 9 yards. Plus we do a lot of videos of working the hay fields, what it takes to grow premium quality hay. The equipment's only part of the puzzle. In my opinion, a much bigger part of the puzzle is out there in that soil. That's where the real work goes on. The baling is just the fruits of the labor. The labor's there in the field. Thank you. I really appreciate y'all. If you haven't, we'd appreciate if you subscribe to our channel. God bless you and your family, and we pray that y'all have a fantastic day. Quick disclaimer for this video. We are not sponsored by any agriculture company. We are not sponsored by anyone in this video or on our farm, period. So the products that we're mentioning are products that we use ourselves. We paid full price for, we enjoy them, and we can feel confident recommending them to you. Just want to make sure that was up front, because I don't want someone to think, well, this small scale haying equipment, he's promoting it because he's being paid to. No, I'm not. However, I wouldn't turn down a sponsorship. Would I? I don't know. Earlier, did I say that was popular than John Travolta in 1972? Did I really say that? These 70s guys, you had to be born in the 60s to be cool, not 70s.